Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right, we're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
Wouldn't it be cool if we lived like this? Asked Levi as he talked to Ivy while doing a perfect handstand. In handstand land, giggled Ivy. No, replied Levi, returning to his feet and standing up. I mean, in a world where everything was upside down. You know, like where we could walk in the sky and the ground would stretch out over our heads? Ivy just looked at her brother, not knowing what to say. It was an interesting concept, but it would be really cool to have birds flying around at your feet or bunnies and squirrels scurrying around overhead. But then she let herself really start to picture such a world, and as she did, Ivy started to understand what Levi was saying. I guess it would be cool to look up and see rivers and streams flowing over our heads and to hop from cloud to cloud on our walk to school, said Ivy, doing a handstand to get a better perspective of this new world. Exactly, replied Levi. Imagine if tree branches stretched down from the sky, and when it rained, the raindrops flew up from the sky under our feet like the world's biggest sprinkler. That would be amazing, exclaimed Ivy, pretending to dance around in a rainstorm. And I would call it Topsy Turvy, said Levi. Topsy what? Asked Ivy. Topsy Turvy, Levi repeated. It's another way to say upside down, except it sounds way more fun. You're right, it does sound more fun, said Ivy with a big smile. And now that they both had this wacky upside down thought in their heads, they couldn't think of anything else. As the afternoon rolled on, Levi and Ivy added to their grand idea of creating this topsy-turvy wonderland and tried to think of a way to make their dream become a reality. They drew pictures of what topsy-turvy would look like, filled with flowers and vines raining down from the ground, which now was above their heads. They drew an upside-down playground in the sky and rainbows now so close you could touch them. They drew a night sky around their feet, and now with this new planetary placement, anyone who lived in this magical land could skip between stars, climb on the moon, ride a shooting star, or walk from planet to planet. Levi and Ivy were just having fun that afternoon, creating a wonderful place that was nothing like where they lived. But what seemed like an afternoon game would end up teaching them both a very important lesson. As the day went on, all their excitement and creativity had created something amazing. After dinner, Levi and Ivy continued to work on Topsy Turvy, and by bedtime, they were still full of ideas, but quite tired. They decided to both sleep in Levi's room so they could work on more enchanting drawings before they went to sleep. How cute would it be to look up and see little chipmunks scampering by? Asked Ivy as she yawned and worked on yet another picture of their upside-down land. Or how cool would it be to have planes fly right by you as you're playing outside? Said Levi. I really wish this upside-down land existed, even for just one day. Me too. What if it really did? Said Ivy as her sleepiness won out and her drawing pad and marker fell from her hand onto the floor by her bed. What if it really did? Said Levi as he closed his eyes too and drifted off to sleep. Maybe we'll dream about it tonight. Except that night, Levi and Ivy wouldn't be going to Dreamland. They would be going to a place they had created themselves. Somewhere just as amazing, where they would see amazing things, meet amazing creatures, go on an amazing adventure, and learn a pretty amazing lesson at the end of it all. As they felt themselves falling to sleep, Levi and Ivy thoughts filled with more wonderful things that existed in Topsy Turvy. Their made-up, marvelous, upside-down world. Then before they knew it, they were standing next to each other in the backyard. Ivy, are we dreaming? Asked Levi, looking around. It looks like our normal backyard, but something seems a bit different, answered Ivy. Just look at the ground. Levi joined Ivy and inspected the ground beneath their feet. The grass seemed dull and hazy, like it was out of focus. When they looked up at the sky, they noticed the same thing. Something just wasn't right. Well, being the curious kids that they were, they decided to take a closer look. That meant they were off on an adventure. They walked out of their backyard and down the street. They continued past their school and park where they played before they made it to the woods at the edge of their town. And that's when things started to become a bit clearer. Levi, do you remember when you asked me if we were dreaming? Asked Ivy as she stared wide-eyed at the scene before her. I sure do, replied Levi, knowing exactly what she was going to say next. After seeing this, I'd say yes, we are definitely dreaming, said Ivy with a big smile. We did it, Ivy! We made our drawings come to life. Ivy couldn't even answer her brother because she was at a loss for words. What had only been moments ago a drawing in her drawing pad was now a seemingly endless, wonderful world spreading out before them. It's Topsy Turvy! Shouted Levi as he jumped from his hazy dole out of focus reality and into something amazing. And it looked like the world they had talked about and drawn, things they had only imagined, were now right there in front of them, and there was only one thing to do. Let's go! Shouted Ivy and Levi as they ran towards the topsy-turvy terrain. Their first steps had them walking in the sky as they gazed upwards at the ground that stretched out over our heads. Birds flew around by their feet as they carefully walked through a sea of blue sky. Bunnies and squirrels scurried around overhead in a woodland area that dangled above them like a forest umbrella. Along with the forest, rivers and streams gently rolled along in what would have been the sky at home, with fish flying above as they followed the flowing water. Levi and Ivy couldn't stop smiling as they tried to take in everything around them. It was then that Ivy felt something gently bump her leg. What was that? Exclaimed Ivy as she jumped up thinking it was a little animal. But she quickly discovered when she looked down at her leg that her perspective on the world had to change if she was going to adapt to the world she and Levi had created. It's a bird, Ivy, said Levi as he watched a little blue bird flutter around Ivy's legs before continuing on its way. Levi, look out! Shouted Ivy, pointing over her brother's shoulders as he turned around and came face to face with a cloud. The water vapor-filled, fluffy puffs seemed to vanish as it touched his face, making him giggle. That was awesome! You need to try it, said Levi to Ivy. Ivy quickly turned around and saw a small cloud floating her way. She ran toward it, and as the fluffy puff made up of teeny tiny water droplets softly smashed into her, she spun around and danced in the sky. Topsy-turvy was better than she could have ever imagined. Levi felt the same way, completely focused on only the clouds around them. Levi and Ivy decided to play a game of follow the leader, and as they did so, they hopped from cloud to cloud, laughing as they went. Try this, called out Levi as he did a handstand on one of the passing clouds. Everything looks like it's back to normal. Wow, exclaimed Ivy, doing a handstand too. You're right. It's pretty amazing what things look like when you just change your perspective a bit, said a voice that Ivy thought was Levi. That's a really smart thing to say, Levi, Ivy replied as she plopped back down on her feet and stood up. Thank you so much, but my name isn't Levi, it's Updo, said the little fairy-like creature that was walking up to Levi and Ivy. I live here in the world you created. It's pretty amazing. You both did a great job. Levi and Ivy once again couldn't believe their eyes, but they didn't want to miss even a second of getting to know this little creature and learning more about Topsy Turvy from him. We're so happy you like it here, said Ivy. This is my brother Levi, and he's the one who had the idea for this place. Did you say your name was Updo? Asked Levi. Oh, now I get it. It's the first part of the words upside and down. Updo. That is exactly right, said Updo as he jumped on a cloud as it drifted by. So where are you two coming from? Did you have to take a plane? Like that one? You may want to step over this way. Updo pointed behind Levi and Ivy, and as they turned around, they saw a giant plane flying their way. They quickly stepped aside as the plane soared right next to them. Levi and Ivy stared with wide eyes and a look of pure astonishment on their faces. Why do you look so surprised? Asked Updo, still jumping up and down on the cloud like it was a fluffy trampoline. Well, where we're from, planes fly in the sky, explained Ivy. Yeah, same here. We're standing in the sky right now, said Updo. Yes, this is the sky, but in our world, the sky is above your head, not under your feet, said Levi, trying to explain. We walk on the ground at home. Like what's up there? Updo was now the one that looked completely shocked. Wow, that sounds really different, but kind of cool, said Updo. Updo just looked at Levi and Ivy as if he couldn't understand them at all. But as time went on, they would see that they had more in common than they thought.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun, Lively Lewis story with you.